So finally, the sun has risen for Hyderabad, and I say that because it was just their second win out of 10 games in IPL 2021, and that just sums it up perfectly, I'm guessing. Or shall we ask Saba Karim himself?
Yes, Avnish, this is so surprising for Rajasthan for that matter, because one was expecting Rajasthan Royals to pull this one through and try and get into the playoffs. But I think this will hurt them, and it all happened because although Sanju Samson scored runs freely, but the last 3 overs made a big difference. Last 3 overs, I thought Sunrisers came back very strongly, and they gave away only 18 runs, and that really hurt the Rajasthan Royals in a big way.
Yeah, they pulled it back with some sort of target to achieve in the end, I guess, because Samson was, of course, well set. And Siddharth Kaul needs to be praised because he bowled 10 dot balls. That reminds me, before we get on with our chat, we'll just put the fan goodie bag answer right now and reveal the winner. There wasn't any in terms of the fans on our comments because a couple of them went for Bhuvneshwar Kumar. I think you went for Rashid Khan. I as well went for Rashid Khan, but it was Mustafizur Rahman. I think he just pulled it back slightly towards the end. 11 dot balls in totality. So, I mean, unfortunately, there was no winners. But let's talk about Rajasthan because you spoke about them in the preview and just talked about how important this game was. But they still have 3 bites of the cherry left, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, they really have to uh, play not only up to the potential, but maybe above that. And I think Rajasthan Royals are suffering because some of the big players are not scoring runs. Look at today's game, Avnish. They brought in Owen Lewis and they had Lam Livingston. Both of them got out very cheaply. So the entire responsibility fell on the shoulders of Sanju Samson. Although he batted so well, but he needed a power hitter from the other end. And if that had happened, then maybe Rajasthan Royals would have been well on the course to get a score about 185, 190 on a decent track, and that may have been difficult for Sunrisers to achieve. But I think they are suffering because of there is no substance from the middle order and some strange team selection also. Avanish, I possibly cannot understand why would you have Lomeror and Rahul Tewatia as your fourth and fifth bowler. You possibly can't do that. Both of them can only act as a sixth bowler. One of them cannot be your fifth bowler. So I think their entire strategy of playing with only four quality pace bowlers in the ranks, that did not go down well for Rajasthan Royals.
Yeah, I get your point because at the end of the day, that proved to be costly for them. And we've seen that in this match. It's a clear example. I also want to talk to you about the middle overs with a ball in hand because they've been the most expensive. In fact, that is the stat of the day. Let me just read it out for our viewers because at the end of the day, in IPL 2021, the Rajasthan Royal bowlers have conceded 9.3 runs per over in the middle overs, the highest amongst all teams. And that paints a picture by itself. Coming to, of course, their fifth bowler and sixth bowler. But they played Royal Challengers Bangalore next on Wednesday, which is, of course, a big game for them. They need the points then. Do you see some hope for RR still?
I think the way RCB played the last game against Mumbai Indians, they would really fancy the chances of putting this one across Rajasthan Royals, Avnish, because they seem to be in good form. Wonderful to watch Virat Kohli. Good to see Glenn Maxwell putting some runs on board. Then Harshal Patel picking up some wickets, and they have a good combination going at this stage. So I expect RCB to win this encounter against Rajasthan Royals. But as I said, I think one really feels for Rajasthan Royals because they're without three of the top match winners. No Ben Stokes, no Jofra Archer, no Joss Butler. But having said that, they do have some kind of freshness in their approach. But it's not easy to bail them out if your top players are not scoring runs or are not putting up match winning performances. You rightly mentioned about their bowling effort. If you don't have quality spinners in your ranks, then you fall back on your three or four quality pace bowlers. They may be top heavy in the power play. They may get you one or two wickets, and then they are good in the death overs. But who will fill in the middle overs? So you need some good quality spin bowlers who can exploit the condition that we see in Dubai or in UAE for that matter.
Yeah, interesting points, those. Let's, of course, talk a little bit about SRH because there are a few tales that I want to pick your mind about. One is at the end of the whole David Warner era for Sunrisers Hyderabad. He led them to, of course, their first and only title. He's been dropped now. He's been really out of form. And two, were you really happy with the fresh faces which came in? I mean, Siddharth Kaul's been waiting for his turn. He came in for the injured Khalil Ahmed. Jason Roy was just brilliant. I mean, for his debut for the franchise, he got the second highest score in terms of that quick-fire 60. SRH picked the positives because we can't really talk about them further in the tournament, if you know what I mean.
Yes, Avnish, and Sunrisers, and they've been a fantastic IPL team for the past 3-4 years, and I think one has to let them go this time around. And what can you do if your top performers who have done so well for you in the past, they don't put up runs on board? And that was the case with David Warner. The middle order was not clicking at all, and they suffered in the entire IPL because of this. But this would be a very good takeaway for them, because now they would look to rebuild for the next season, especially with the mega auction coming up. There must be a lot of strategizing going on as to whom to retain, whom to let go. All these things do matter. So whatever games are left for Sunrisers, some of these players would love to put up some very good performances for the side. And I think this is a good comeback for Sunrisers. Good to see Jason Roy, who replaced David Warner, put some very important runs for his side. In fact, they got off to such a rollicking start. In the first 6 overs, they were 57 or more for a loss of only 1 wicket. That was of Riddhiman Saha. And then again, you have the captain, Kane Williamson, coming in. He looks so calm. He knows how to get these runs. And if the asking run rate is say about 7.5, 8 runs per over, you do expect Kane Williamson to pull you through, and that's what he did today. So good to see Abhishek Sharma, another youngster whom Sunrisers had banked heavily on. In fact, in the last mega auction, they had retained Abhishek Sharma. Although so far he has not been able to maximize his potential. It was wonderful to watch him bat. He's such a fluent player. If he only needs to, back his abilities, and I think with Kane Williamson on the other end, that really helped him to play such an important role for his side.
Yeah, because you talk about even Priyam Garg. I mean, unfortunately, he missed out today. It was a first ball, dark cotton ball, Mustafizur to him. But just instilling youth in every franchise is good to see. We've seen it with Rajasthan in the case of Yashasvi Jaiswal and Mahipal Lamror. Now the names that we mentioned right now for SRH. So only onwards and upwards. But again, it comes back to that big auction, I think, in January, where you can retain only 3 players. So it's going to be absolute changes galore. That's a story for another day. Predictions then, because at the end of the day, I won't reveal the winner right now. We'll go step by step, batsman first, because Evan Lewis is what Criclytics went for. You went for Samson just ahead, but then you said Livingston. I felt that Livingston could do something. So unfortunately, you missed out there with Sanju Samson. Now, I want to talk to you about a couple of things about him, because he's got the most 40s in his IPL career, and this season, in a season, that's 6 40s. His consistency has gone up. I guess that's come with captaincy as well. And you talk about just blitzing the bowler and what he normally does. I mean, is this a different side of Sanju Samson that we're seeing?
Yes, it is, Avanish. And high time we saw this kind of Sanju Samson. I feel that he has changed his template completely. If you notice in the past or in the previous season, he would start in a very strong manner, very positive, would play some big scoring shots, and then he would slow down. But this time around, because of so-called responsibility of being the captain, he starts off on a decent note, and then he accelerates. And that is how he's been able to become far more consistent than what we have seen him in the past. And this is so refreshing to watch him bat. There is so much of grace. He's so languid when he plays a shot. His timing, in any case, is exemplary. And when he bats in this kind of a fashion, he reminds so much like Rohit Sharma. He's another player who's got loads of time on hand. And this may be a big call, but I feel that the time has come now for Sanju Samson to realize that if he has to get into the national team, he's far better off staking his claim as a pure batsman instead of trying to get in as a wicketkeeper batsman, because he's got loads of talent as a batter. And I feel that Indian cricket will be very well served if he gets into the national side as a pure batsman. That's my take on Sanju Samson.
Yeah, I mean, I completely echo those thoughts, because we've always been having this cry every IPL about Sanju Samson. But let's see if captaincy has done him good. And in my opinion, I think it certainly has. Right, bowlers next. And again, it was a drub affair in terms of the predictions, because Criclytics got it wrong. So did Saba. Criclytics said Shamsi, who didn't play. So it was out of the reckoning before ball was bowled. You went for Rashid Khan, who did fairly well, but not the best. The best was Siddharth Kaul, who who once again turned out to pull things back, like you said at the top of the show. Predictions in terms of the final one, and again, no one got it wrong because both of them went for Rajasthan Royals. It was, of course, the Sunrisers Hyderabad, and we'll let you have the final word with regards to just this match and how things can shape out in terms of the table, Saba.
Yes, I think this is a game for Rajasthan Royals to win, and I think with
Yeah.
this loss, they will really feel very upset about it, because a win here would have propelled them up in the order, but I think this will really hurt them big way, and I think it's all because of the failure to post a big score in today's encounter against Sunrisers. But these things do happen. They still have some games left. If they can manage to win all the remaining matches, they can still try and claw back into the fray. But I think it seems difficult for Rajasthan Royals from here. But kudos to Sunrisers, Avinish, for them to come back and post their first win in the second leg. It is a difficult situation for them. For everybody in the team, that you're losing. You've tried your everything. You've tried out different combinations, but at times it doesn't work. But I think thankfully for them that today's game, there were certain takeaways which will really help them in future also.
Yeah, well said, Saba Karim. And just food for thought, guys, because Rajasthan take on RCB, like I said, on Wednesday. Then they have Mumbai, and then they have Chennai. So it is catch-up cricket for them. Let's see how they cope with it. Until the next time, it's a goodbye from me, Avnish Hegde, cricket.com, and Saba Karim, of course, who will join us for another preview, I'm sure, this week. Until then, it's a goodbye from us.